When I was 16 years old, and a friend of mine recovered from a heart condition that he thought it was. The diagnosis was a heart condition. He recovered through a naturopath, through diet. And that aroused my interest. And then I went to the New York Public Library and I began to do research. And I started with the traditional nutritionists, Mary Schwartz Rose Davies, von Bunya, and the nutritionists of the time, Sherman, and so forth. And at about that time, I was 16, I said to myself, how do I get experience in all this? And I conceived of the idea, there was in the village, down near in the Hudson Street area in New York, was an importer, Trefflich, Henry Trefflich. And he used to import monkeys, snakes, all kinds of animals. So I thought to myself, why don't I go down there and see if I could buy some animals that are sick or dying. Maybe I get them cheap and start testing these theories I'm learning about in my research. So I went down there and I spoke to Mr. Trefflich. And I said, Mr. Trefflich, I would like to, I'm looking for some monkeys. Do you have any monkeys that are sick or dying or that you're going to have to get rid of? And maybe you could let them have me for a small amount of money because I want to take them home and see if I can get them well. Because I'm studying healing. So he looked at me and laughed. Here I was a kid of 16 and I'm asking a stupid question, you got any animals that are dying? So he laughed, he says, oh yeah, all right, I got a couple of animals. He gave me two monkeys. They were rhesus monkeys. I remember one of them had a red face, a female. She was very vicious. So he said, these animals have dysentery, which is considered a fatal disease. Because when they move their bowels, blood comes out. And they lose blood, and they die like that. And they're feeding them grains during the trip from the boat, from India, or wherever they get these animals. And they bring them to America. And a lot of animals die on the trip, and what do they feed them? They give them grains, the easiest food, and to replace all the natural things that they're used to. So a lot of them don't survive that. So he gave me a couple of monkeys for $5 each. I don't remember. One was $15, another one was $5. There was a lot of money in those days, because this was in 1936.
34.
1934?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was 16. So I bring these animals home in a cage. I built a big cage. I had my own apartment then that I found in the East Side, and I invited my brothers. They moved in with me, and we each used the 3-room apartment. And I took the small room and I built a huge cage, about half the size of the room. And I put a pedestal there and wiring, and so the animal could run around. And I put them in there, and the female that he gave me had a huge belly. At first I thought she was pregnant, but it wasn't pregnant. She was waterlogged with edema. A very serious disease. A sarcoma, they call that, or where the whole body fills up with fluid. And usually the heart gives out with that condition because it's a big strain on the heart to circulate all that fluid. So I said, well, I didn't know what to do. I said, well, the easiest way to do when an animal's sick is you put it on a fast. That's what they do in nature. I was trying to parallel nature because that was the easiest way to start. So I put the monkeys on a fast, and using the woman, the female with the big belly, the belly was going to be my barometer for what the progress was. So this female steps on the ledge there, and she knocks the nail off. She was very strong and vicious. All the animals were afraid of her in the future. So I noticed as each day goes by, the belly's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then we got close to about the I think it was about 14th, 15th day, and by that time the belly was gone. I said, she's cured now. So I said, what am I going to feed her? So I said, well, what did he feed her? So I said, babe, I'll give her some grains. So I got some wheat, whole wheat, and I gave it to the monkeys, and they were eating it, and I noticed the belly's getting big again. Each day I said, oh, this is not a good food for the monkey, so I better give it some maybe human type of food. So I started giving it some fruit juices, and they were happy, and then I gave other foods. I bring in bananas and other things, and they became happy and they were healthy. After several weeks, there was nothing wrong with them. They were fine. They were jumping around all over, and I said, well, they could need more freedom now because they're healthy. So I figured maybe I'll try to sell them, get some more money, and buy some more monkeys. But in those days, a lot of pet shops didn't want monkeys because they were too run around. They moved too quickly. They did too much jumping. I can tell you, one monkey escaped the cage in my apartment. And when I came back from Japan, after doing U.S. SOCAM shows, I had beautiful ivories I brought back and collected, and artworks and vases. And the monkey knocked everything down, jumping on the shelves, and everything went flying. I lost a lot of art treasures. So I knew they had to be kept on chain because, or you would leave them in the yard. Then another time I put a monkey in the yard, and I put it on a chain. It was about 20 feet long. So he climbs up on the tree and he gets entangled in the branches with the chain. And, oh boy, what a headache. And I use a ladder to get it untangled or maybe break some branches. But when I got these monkeys, I noticed that I put them in my yard for exercise, and I had a long yard, it was a block long. And the monkeys would lift up the stones and look for grubs and insects, and they'd eat the grubs and insects. Then I started to give them, greens and salads and nuts, things like that, then they stopped eating the grubs. So I knew that they were contented with the food I was giving them. Well, a lot of things I remember one interesting story. When I bought a hotel in the Catskills, and one time I was driving with my manager, and we saw this head bobbing up in the middle of the road, and we come close and see it's a dog. And he can't walk. He's been injured from a car. I said, gee, I can't leave the dog like that. The next car will kill him, you know. If I leave him, pull him over to the side, somebody could hurt him, you know. So I said, well, let's take him home. And so I found a carton, and I put him in there, and I bring him home. And I took him to my room, and I just patted it nicely, put cloths inside, let him stay there, and near the yard. And he's fasted. But I noticed when his jaw was out of line, the chin was about an inch or two over to the left side, and his teeth didn't close together, so his jaw was fractured. And I didn't know what to do with that, so I figured I better call a vet. So I found a nice vet, and I told him the story. I said, can you fix this dog, get his bones back in place? So he had been fasting a few days, but that didn't seem to straighten out the jaw misalignment. So I brought him to this vet, this nice man, He says, leave him here with me overnight. I'll set the jaw, and then you can come pick him up. So I left him overnight, and he gave the animal some anesthetic, and he put the jaw back in line, and he strapped it in. So I took the animal home. He says, now, I asked him how long it'll take to heal. He says, we'll give him a few days, and he'll start healing. So I kept him in the box, and when he got to about the 7th, 8th day, he starts looking for food, and I had a German Shepherd then, my own pet, and I used to give him bones. He had a big bone there, and this dog is going over the big bone, is jumping on it. I said, oh my God, he has got a fractured jaw. He's going to break his jaw. So I said, I better give him something to eat. He's hungry now. So I knew the fast was finished. So I started to feed him, and then let him out in the yard, and he was happy running around, and then I gave him his freedom. That was one story. And then there's another story about this Sherman Shepherd I owned. My wife bought a German Shepherd that had an intestinal disease. And it was worth about $125, and the animal was dying. So somebody said to her, look, give me $25, I'll give you the dog, a puppy. So she gave him $25, she brings the puppy home to me. And she says to me, this dog is, sick dog. So I says, all right, let's get him well. So I started him, oh yeah, he was, wherever he walked, blood was coming out of his rectum. So we knew he had some kind of an internal inflammation and disease in the intestines. So I put him on a fast, the great healer, fasting. Nothing but water. And this is going on and on. It goes to about the 10th day of the fast. And I'm lying on my bed, and the dog climbs up on the bed, and he goes on my chest. I'm lying on my back, and he just looks at my eyes. And I'm breathing, and he's lying on me. I said, well, then my wife comes over to me. She says, he's been eating his feces for the last 2 days. Well, I said to her, well, in that case, might as well feed him. So I started feeding him again. All we had was pistachio nuts. So we give him pistachio nuts. And he's eating these pistachio nuts, and they're coming out the same way they're gone in. He doesn't chew them. They're coming out whole. And then I started to grind up the nuts, and that worked out better. And before long, he was in perfect health. And feeding him a diet. He ate everything we ate, and he was strong and healthy. And we had that dog there for a long time. But eventually, I had to get rid of him because when I got it busy and wasn't home much, and she took him for a walk, he would give a lurch and almost pull her arm out of the socket, although he was on a strap and a chain. So he got too strong for her because he was he grew bigger than the ordinary shepherd after the fast. He gained stature, and he was just too big for her. So we had to get rid of him because he got too strong.